Okay. What's going on, everybody? My name is Mangg. And I know I don't appear on camera too often. Usually we are just playing some video games and all that. But today we're going to be doing something a little different. A while back, well, I used to do years back, I used to make videos for Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective, where I would just sit at a table on camera and just talk through it. And we had some fun with that. I also dabbled in Mythos Tales, which was the Lovecraft version of that. Some time ago, we did some streams of Hunt a Killer Blair Witch Season 1, which was a lot of fun. And yeah, in general, I'm really into like detective stuff, mystery kind of stuff. I'm all about that. Earlier in life, I did have aspirations of actually becoming a detective. But then, yeah, you know, having to be a cop and all that before becoming a detective. But anyways, today we are going to be playing a game simply titled Detective. A modern crime board game. So this, at first glance, this seems like something that I would just like see on a shelf in Target and assume was just like thrown together, and overpriced and all that. But there's two things that tell you it's a little bit more special than that. The one thing, if you're in the know, is that it's a game by Ignacy Trzewiczek, who's a very well-known board game designer. Plenty of hits under his belt. This is a little different than what he would normally do, though, so it's kind of intriguing. And this thing at the bottom is all the actual, like, board game awards shown at the bottom. Dice Tower, multiple Dice Tower awards, multiple Golden Geek awards, Brett Spiel, some other ones that I'm not familiar with. But, yeah, this is legit. This is a legit game. In fact, from what I was reading, this is like the most in-depth detective mystery-based board game out there. More in-depth than Sherlock Holmes, more in-depth than Chronicles of Crime, some other stuff out there. This is really heavy shit. Each case, 5 cases in the game, each case, from what I was read, can take like 6 hours to solve. With copious note-taking, going on the internet, then doing research, bouncing all around. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be wild. So, yeah, I originally bought this to play with my mom. It goes up to 5 players. And, you know, detective games are always kind of like, well, you know, however many you want to play it with. Because it's just however many people you want to sit around a table and have them chime in with suggestions and stuff. This one actually has a limit, though, technically, because there are characters. And each person plays a character, and there's 5 of them. But since I didn't do Blair Witch Season 2 for you guys, I figured I'd treat you and just do Case 1 with you on video. This is me sort of testing the waters, just to like see how ridiculous it is, if my mom would even like it or anything like that. She's not really like a heavy thinker or anything like that. She's not a rocket scientist. She likes Chronicles of Crime because it's just sort of entertaining to follow along with. So we're gonna see how this goes. So yeah, some basics. There are some basic mechanics we got to learn. In general, each case, a lot of it is dictated by this deck of cards. These are your leads. There are 35 of them in here, I guess. Double-sided. So a lot of info about the case is going to be coming from this deck of cards. There's a intro in a book that I'll be reading. There's also a website. Here. This is the Antares database. So here is where will be the cards and stuff, and presumably the website itself will be directing us to look up different names, files. If you want to like question a suspect, you'll be punching that in here, and we'll be getting all these like transcripts and other more info from the site itself, not from the cards. So between the site and the cards, that's comprises how, you know, all the info about the case. So I'm not going to explain specifics about how this all works. We'll just learn as we go. Also here I have a notepad for us writing down notes, things like that. And we will be using Google because there's rules for looking stuff up online. You can't just look up stuff willy-nilly. They're very clear about that. You cannot search the internet for information on a topic if not specifically instructed to do so. Which is funny, because it's like, well, what if I already know? I don't even need to look it up. Damn your rules. But no, I mean, sure, a lot of these things I'm going to have to look up. Like tetrahydrocannabinol. That apparently is THC. I didn't know that. I mean, I didn't know what THC stood for. Anywho, aside from that, other rules that we need to know. This is our board. It's very tiny. It's not like Chronicles of Crime. It's not like Sherlock Holmes. There's not an abundance of different locations. There's basically 4 like police-related ones. There's the headquarters of Antares. There's the Richmond PD, the lab, the courthouse, and then all other stuff is just in this very nebulous fieldwork location. To travel between each one takes an hour. And time is important, because we are on a strict timer for each case. 7 days. 7 days is our timer. And our work day, by default, the work day is 8 a.m. over to 4 p.m. That's a standard work day. If we want to go beyond that, we go into overtime. Or presumably we get paid extra. But also, for each hour that we work overtime, we take additional stress. And if we ever hit our stress limit, the case is automatically over. And we have to answer the questions based on whatever we've learned at that point. So you don't really want to accumulate too much stress on like day 1. So yeah, I mean, you're looking at this thing, I mean, 8 to 4, that's not a tremendous amount of time each day. And as we'll see, each sort of lead we follow up on takes a lot of time. I mean, you could waste a whole day just following up on one false lead. So that's that. And I'll be keeping track of our location with our little car. I'll keep track of the time of the day, so on and so forth. You don't really need to know all that. Tokens. I have a whole bunch of tokens here. Not too many. It's not a token abundant game. The main thing is like these blue ones with a white symbol on it. Basically, for different leads, for different cards, if we want to dig deeper into a card, into a lead, and flip it over to get more info about it, we have to spend one of these skill tokens. And we only have a limited number, so we can only dig deep. We can only really invest into a certain number of leads each case. So we want to be fairly certain. And with that, we get our characters. So there's 5 characters. We have Ben Harris, former FBI analyst. We have Julia Jacobson, the former investigative journalist. And yeah, they're, real pictures all over the place. I don't know if these are real people or if they use like that site that was like, these are not realpeople.com or whatever it is. Mia Roberts, former psychologist. Chris Stone, former private eye. He doesn't really sound like he speaks like this, but yeah. And Jack Coleman, former cop. Simple as that. Former cop. So we're going to be playing as one of these. On the backside of each of these is a different character. And these are all consultants. So these are not player characters. Whichever ones we don't pick, we're going to flip over and they're going to be our consultants. And the primary thing of the consultants, they don't provide any special abilities or anything like that. All they provide is in the lower right for you is those skill tokens. So Henry Barnes provides 2 research skill tokens. Whereas playing the active character gives you a special ability and 1 skill token. So if you're playing with 5 people, you have far less skill tokens than I'm going to have, which I guess is something. But you get less special abilities. So looking at the special abilities, I'm kind of liking Chris Stone, the former private eye. His special ability is spend 1 authority token and an appropriate skill token from the token pool to dig deeper on a lead card that has already been resolved. So normally when we read a card, and it has the option to dig deeper into it, if we don't dig deeper, if we don't flip it over by spending the token at that moment, it gets filed away and we can never flip it over ever again later. With Chris Stone, though, once per day, we can spend an authority token to actually flip it over later if we realize, oh, that might have been actually important. Authority tokens, we get a fixed number at the start of each case. You only get them through certain actions or certain leads. Basically, if you're on the right track of a case, you're more likely to get these authority tokens, which you can spend in a variety of ways, including your special abilities. That might be about it for just like the basics, and we'll learn as we go about all the rest. I mean, I've already learned most of it. Okay, so with that done, we're going to be playing as Chris Stone, as I said. The rest are our consultants, Ruth Redneys, Tom Clemens, Hope O'Brien, and Henry Barnes. So I'm going to build... I'm going to build the token pool then, I think. So we get 2... As if I know the names of the skills. Research is 1, I know that. Questioning. Okay, we get 2 questioning tokens. We get 2 technology tokens. Ooh. Good. We're playing like noir sort of detective music, even though this is set in the modern day. This is just, you know, it feels appropriate either way. We get 1 wild token, which we can use for any of the other 4 types. We get 2 research, and Chris Stone, our character, gives us 1 perception token, so that's definitely our weakest. Okay. Case 1. Case 1 is titled, A Man with a Golden Watch. Alright, there's some advice, first of all. In front of you lies the first scenario of the campaign, the mystery of the Golden Watch. During the investigation, focus on the primary objective assigned to you by your superiors. Carefully look over every branching thread related to this case. Some of them are irrelevant, while others will unlock new meaning in future cases, allowing you to see them in a different light. Scattered throughout the cases are fragments of a greater whole that will slowly start piecing together. Remember the important initial leads presented to you in this intro. Take good notes, ideally in the form of a mind map. Carefully read the cards and try to draw valid conclusions before deciding to pursue the further leads. Most importantly, do not rush from card to card. Doing this will take you down a rabbit hole of information, causing the investigation to spiral out of control due to the sheer volume of information. Good luck. Alright. Antari's headquarters, July 5th, 8:11 a.m. EST. The briefing room located on the first floor of the newly built building complex seems sterile. Light creamy walls with glazed windows overlooking the James River. A large white table, chromed handrails of black chairs, and a gray carpet fills the room. Despite being light and spacious, it lacks warmth. "Hello," says Delaware as he rolls his wheelchair to the head of the table. He has a tired, wrinkled face. Long strands of gray hair fall over his piercing eyes. He places his green notebook on the table. "The task at hand is quite peculiar. The State Department has asked Antares to investigate a potential scandal. A few days ago, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Poland sent a confidential note asking for clarifications of an unusual event. Earlier, in the Ying auction house, a pocket watch with a gold-plated bezel appeared. It turned out to be serious. The watch is in the database of objects lost during World War II. The Poles identified it as a showpiece that was looted by the Germans from the Museum of the Land in Posen, Poland, during the occupation of Poland. For Poles, it has both symbolic and sentimental value, as it was a memento of the great pianist Ignacy Paderewski. According to the data provided by the Poles, the watch was stolen by a Nazi named Kurt Blutholz. Of course, you'll find records about him in our database." He clears his throat, glances at his notebook as if he was trying to remember something, and then resumes his briefing. "The auction house bought the watch for about $5,000 from a man named Rupert Owens, who apparently did not realize how valuable the item was. The watch is already secured in our evidence store. The matter is delicate. If this Blutholz, by some strange stroke of luck, had lived after the war in the United States, it would be very unfortunate for political reasons. At least that's what the current administration thinks. Worse yet, the press will begin to sniff around. It's only a matter of time before the issue turns into a scandal that I would very much like to avoid in the first year of this agency's operation. Our task is to find answers before someone finds questions." He looks over the briefing room, checks his notes, and sighs heavily. "Oh, and finally, one very sad piece of information. The morning after tomorrow at the Olivet Cemetery, Michael Slater's funeral will take place. As you know, he was one of the police consultants who helped create our unit. He was a victim of a hit and run. Nasty end to a perfect career in the police force. It would be nice if someone from our team could attend the funeral. We will gather at Richmond PD at 8 a.m. the day after tomorrow. From there, the police column will go to the cemetery." Okay, let me write some notes first. So specifically, we're not trying to find the watch. They have the watch. It showed up. It was lost during World War II. Basically, it was in a museum in Poland. It was looted by the Germans. For Poles, it has both symbolic and sentimental value. It was a memento of the great pianist Ignacy Paderewski. The watch was stolen by a Nazi named Kurt Bluetholz. The auction house, the Ying auction house, bought the watch for $5,000 from a man named Rupert Owens, who did not realize how valuable the item was. They have records about Kurt Bluetholz, but the issue is basically they're worried that this Nazi was living in the US. That's how the watch ended up here. So let's take some notes here. So we have golden watch. Memento of the Polish pianist Ignacy Paderewski. Okay. Watch was stolen from Polish museum during World War II by Nazi Kurt Bluetholz. Ended up in U.S. Nah, let me be clear about that. Watch ended up in the U.S. Owned by Rupert Owens, who sold it to Ying auction house for $5,000. Okay. Is that all the key information I care about? I guess we'll mention the Michael Slater funeral at Olivet Cemetery. Day 3, I guess. $8 a.m. Oh. Richmond PD, 8 a.m. Not the best note taker in the world. Okay. Alright, so we get some images here. Let me just... So there's the watch itself. There's Ignacy Paderewski. And there's Kurt Bluetholz. So we're going to move the time marker to 9 a.m. So we've already wasted an hour with the briefing. We get 4 authority tokens to start. Not a whole lot. The goal of the case is to investigate the events leading up to the watch from Poland, ending up in the Ying auction house. Discover all stages and find evidence to confirm them. We have 4 days to finish the investigation. Okay, 4 days. Stress limit is 7 for this case, so we can take up to 7 before cracking and the case is over. Okay, so we've got further leads listed here. We have 6 of them. So we can access Kurt Bluetholz's police files in the database. We can access the police files on Rupert Owens in the database. We can go to the evidence storage at the headquarters to look at the watch itself, I guess. We can go interrogate Rupert Owens, who's at the headquarters. We can interrogate the auction house owners. That's it. There's also the funeral mentioned, but that's on day 3. And I guess we don't even have to attend it if we don't want to. Okay. So I think first thing would be to go on the database, because I don't think that actually takes time. Let me double check the rulebook here. I don't believe so. Yeah, never costs any hours. You can do it as much as you want. Okay, fine. So let's load up the database. Just do some research action here. So we have a name. The name we are interested in is Kurt Blutholz. Okay. All right, Kurt Blutholz. Born January 31st, 1911, in Munich, Germany. Height of 5'8", brown hair, brown eyes, O blood type. Paresis of the left hand due to shrapnel wound, but this is not confirmed, and a tattoo of a spider above the right wrist, also not confirmed. It's pretty nebulous. A high-ranking German microbiologist and scientist. During the war, he conducted research on biological weapons and transplants, experimented with using sarin to kill prisoners of the concentration camp Auschwitz-Birkenau. An international arrest warrant has been issued. Status unknown. Officially, he's still wanted by the Polish and the Russian governments. The Polish bill of indictment for the Nuremberg trials names him as one of the criminals and documents witness testimonies. The bill, over 100 pages long, contains the most important facts and documents regarding Nazi crimes against the Polish nation. This bill was attached to the Soviet bill of indictment due to the fact that the Polish delegation could not formally partake in the works of the tribunal since the London Agreement of August 8, 1945 ensured that only the representatives of the four powers speaking on behalf of all nations were present. Okay, he's charged with illegal carrying out of microbiological and chemical tests on Poles imprisoned in the Auschwitz concentration camp and the prisoners of Fort 7 from Posen. 137 cases of experiments resulting in death were documented. He's also charged with active participation in a criminal organization, probable connection to Otto Skorzany's organization, Spider. As a further lead, we can seek out the assistance of a history consultant concerning Kurt Blutholz at the headquarters. Okay. So first of all, we have our first internet lookup. We can look up Otto Skorzany. But specifically, Die Spine. Die Spinne. Die Spinne. There we go. Die Spinne. Okay. Post-World War II organization thought to have helped certain Nazi war criminals escape justice. Existence still debated today, believed by some historians to be a different name or a branch of the Nazi German Odessa organization established during the collapse of the Third Reich, similar to Kameradenwerk and Der Bruderschaft, devoted to helping German war criminals flee Europe, led in part by Otto Skorzany, Hitler's commando chief, as well as Nazi intelligence officer Reinhard Gehlen. Helped as many as 600 former SS men escape from Germany to Francois, Spain, Juan Perón's Argentina, Paraguay, Chile, Bolivia, Middle East, and other countries. Huh. Okay. Noted. All right. Let's see here. Let's get the important information here. January 31st. January 31st, 1911. Munich. Brown hair, brown eyes, 5'8". Is that what it said? Yep. Paresis. What is paresis? Why should I care about it? No, it's just muscle weakness. Okay. Well, we'll use the word paresis because it's cool. In left hand, from shrapnel, left hand, and tattoo of spider above right wrist. Neither confirmed. Okay. Microbiologist, and scientist. Worked at Auschwitz. Possibly worked with Die Spinne to help Nazi officials escape justice. Okay. That's probably about it. Okay. Now, hold on. The further leads. Is that indefinite? I don't have to act on that immediately, right? Yeah, I can follow any time later in the game. Good. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down. Because I'm sure we're going to... Let me just copy paste that. Okay. We wanted to look up Rupert Owens now as well. So we're going to go name... oh yeah, Rupert Owens. Okay. Rupert James Owen, born May 15, 1959, Richmond, Virginia, 5'5". Holy shit! Blue eyes, dark hair. He was arrested on May 20th, 1979 for possession with intent to distribute a controlled substance, sentenced to 6 months in prison. June 20th, 1986 for selling a controlled substance, 2 years in prison. May 13, 2011 for indecent exposure and breach of peace, sentenced to a fine and community service. March 15, 2012 for causing a traffic accident while driving under the influence, damaging public property, a fire hydrant. Sentenced to 3 months of community service, fined $2,000, and directed to a mandatory treatment for drug and alcohol addiction. Shoe size is 8.5. Weighs 158 pounds. Marcus Owens is his father. Lily Garrett is his mother. These are both individuals also in the database. Now that's all well and good. We also have the SD, the signature. So... the signatures are related to evidence. I didn't really understand it from the rulebook. I can recount it for you, but I don't know if you'll understand it. Maybe I missed a section. No. No. No, the only section that talks about... oh, it also says there's no U1 card. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so matching evidence. When you encounter a signature, visit AntaresDatabase.com, click the signature button, type the 12-character case-sensitive signature into the form. The system will automatically recognize the signature type and add a short description. Signatures are divided into 3 categories: dactyloscopic, which is SD, DNA, sDNA, and material, SM. They represent examined fingerprints, blood, hair, dirt, many other types of evidence. So basically, we have his fingerprints on file. So I can add... Okay, I've added his fingerprints to our signatures. Again, I still am not 100% clear on what that means, but sure. Okay, so if I wanted to write some notes about Rupert Owens, I don't really think he's insanely complicit. Date of birth. Richmond, VA. What does he have? Blue eyes, dark hair. Again, I don't know. Blue hair's dark eye. Blue eyes. I don't know what's all relevant here or not. Blue eyes, dark hair. 5'5". That's gotta be relevant. Multiple convictions for drug dealing, indecent exposure, a DUI. Is there anything else in there? Breach of peace. Breach of peace. Rehab in 2012. And we'll punch this info in as well because we have it. So it might be relevant. Okay, now let's look at his father, Marcus Owens. 1930, Richmond, Virginia. Died in 68, 38 years old. He died in a prison, stabbed by an unknown perpetrator. Okay, he was arrested in 66 for buying, receiving, or concealing stolen goods, fined, and released. Arrested on June 15, 1967 after a shootout and charged with failure to obey a police order. Suspected of being an accomplice to a robbery. Charges dropped due to insufficient evidence. Sentenced to 8 years in prison with possibility of applying parole after 3 years for being an accomplice to a car theft, handling stolen goods, resisting arrest, and failure to obey a police order. While in prison, he wanted to cooperate with the prosecutor's office. However, he was found dead before he could share any information. How interesting. Buried at Oakwood Cemetery. And we can go to Richmond PD to get more info about what he was arrested for. Okay. Alright. Lily Garrett. Died in 79. Diabetes. Diabetes at 45 years old. That's a bummer. Not much to say about that. Did divorce Marcus Owens. Not that that's a shock. Okay. Right. So the question would be then, was he arrested? Was the case... I mean, okay. So his father was clearly also a criminal involved with stolen goods. He was in a shootout, suspected of being an accomplice to a robbery, but they didn't arrest him for that because there was insufficient evidence. He was sentenced to 8 years for being an accomplice to a car theft, handling stolen goods, resisting arrest, and failure to obey a police officer. Is this case that he wasn't convicted for, is that related to the watch? I mean, that's really the question. do we take the time to follow up on it? I suppose we should, right? We haven't looked at any cards yet, so, you know, we might as well. And it's just this trip over to Richmond PD. Let's do it. Let's do it. So, when you're following up on a lead, we've got our deck of cards. So you just look through the top until you see the number 105. You see it's at Richmond PD. So we know Richmond PD to get there takes an hour. Because traveling to any location takes an hour for some reason. I guess this big city. Now we pluck the card out and we read. And we see that this process, following up on this lead right here, this one card, takes 3 hours of our day. So now it is noon. We're already like halfway done with the day. It's pretty shitty. The rain starts to annoy you, but what irks you even more is that some stickler did not want to mail the scans, so you had to go down to get them personally. You reach the precinct, entering the official entrance on the other side of the lobby, away from the hustle and bustle of detainees. You pass the investigation room on the right, turning next to the locker room and showers, and reach the archive located at the end of the corridor. You flash your badge, fill out a request form, turn it in, then sit in an old metal chair to wait. This part of the police station is quiet and peaceful. After a while, Susie's worried face appears in the window. Someone must have misplaced them. Please wait a moment, we're looking for them. You spend the next several minutes savoring the legendary Richmond PD vending machine coffee, known as the worst sludge. You know that if Susie is on the case, she'll go the extra mile to find what you need. And you're not mistaken. In the end, they find it. You have in your hands the printed out scans of the full contents of the 67 folder. So we get another authority token for doing that. That's nice. And we're going to be reading file 105. So we're going to go back to the site. Go to files 105. Look under the insert of your detective game box. There you'll find a couple of additional handouts. Please open and read only the one titled File 1. It should include a case file and an attachment with the plans of the building. Well, I feel like this is on the right track, to be honest. Let me lift this bad boy up. Hold on. Oh, sure enough. There be stuff. There's only two. So this seems pretty good. Richmond Police Department, file number 1. Okay. All right. Uh-oh. Here you go. Case file number 1967, Missouri 0624. Or I don't know. That might not be. Investigating Officer Sergeant Michael Slater, Richmond Police Homicide Department. Suspects: Henry Giles, minor pickpocket. Marcus Owens, pawn shop owner. Really? You own a pawn shop, huh? That's a pretty good clue to know. Victim was Horatio Dawson, florist and flower shop owner. Incident description. On June 14, 1967 at 8:11 p.m., a police patrol arrived at Horatio Dawson's home at 147 Chillingham Road in Richmond on a disorderly conduct call. The policemen approached the porch and noticed the door to the house was open. There was no response to the policemen's calls, so they entered the premises. Upon entering, at the foot of the stairs, they found the body of a tall, well-built man who was later identified to be Horatio Dawson. The body laid face down with both legs remaining partially on the stairs. The policeman confirmed lack of vitals. Backup units and an ambulance were called at 8:19 p.m. The coroner confirmed death. Evidence. Physical evidence available at the Richmond PD Evidential Magazine. Description of the crime scene. See annexed graphic of first and second floor layout. Both the residential property and the attached flower shop had signs of burglary. The glazed glass door in the kitchen leading to the garden was open, and the glass just above the lock was broken. The kitchen cabinets and drawers were open, and some of the dishes were thrown on the floor. In the living room there were broken vases, books from the shelves scattered on the floor, and open cabinet doors. The door to the flower shop was found open, with pots shattered on the floor and boxes torn open. In the office, papers were scattered across the floor. A broken drinking glass was found under the drawers on the side wall. No fingerprint traces were secured. The glass was wiped. A red ceramic pot containing a Florida tassel flower was broken, and dirt was scattered under the window. A footprint, shoe size 11, was found in the dirt. The desk was moved approximately 12 inches toward the back wall, and parallel scratches were found in the wooden floor. The front edge of the desk had been dented. Traces of type A blood were discovered despite an attempt by the perpetrator to wipe them clean. On the desk, there was a typewriter with a piece of paper loaded, a green desk lamp, and 3 pencils. The top of the desk had been wiped. No traces were secured. The open desk drawers contained old 9x19mm parabellum cartridges. It says that I can look that up, but I mean, that's like the most standard handgun ammunition. I think. Yeah. A 3.3 pound brass ashtray was found on the desk, and small traces of tobacco were scattered on the floor. The safe in the office was open with the combination lock in the open position. The safe contained insurance papers and bank statements. The statements revealed that Dawson withdrew his full account balance on the eve of his death. He cashed out a total of $16,452. The money was not found. A footprint was found on the office door frame, 5.5 inches above the floor, and type A blood traces were found on the corridor floor, 19.6 inches from the entrance door frame. Blood trailed the railing of the stairs. A piece of the rail was broken off at a 10-degree angle on the west side of the stairs. Blood traces were found in the 6th, 10th, and 12th step. Traces were type A blood. So we have a lot of evidence signatures here. We have fingerprint traces from the kitchen cabinets, drawers, glazed glass door, living room cabinets, flower shop doors, office open desk drawers, safe door handle, stairway railing. We have fingerprint traces from the ashtray, but they're partially distorted and illegible. We have material signature, the dirt from a ceramic pot containing a footprint, as well as the seeds in a soil sample taken from a ceramic pot. Victims' fingerprints found all over the place. Jesus. Okay. Final report. Murder suspect Henry Giles. Henry Giles was allegedly a witness to the victim's attempt to sell valuables at a pawn shop. He and his partner, Marcus Owen, made the decision to break into Dawson's home. Giles allegedly tracked the victim to his home. On the evening of June 14, 1967, Giles parked a car on Rosamond Street. He broke into Dawson's home from the garden, leaving a footprint in the dirt, shoe size 11. The course of events is alleged as follows. Giles held Dawson at gunpoint. The weapon was found on the suspect the next day. Giles forced the victim to open the safe. There was a struggle, followed by screams. Giles pushed the victim down the stairs. He then searched the house chaotically. The perpetrator likely heard the passing patrol, ran out of the house through the back exit, along with the bag of stolen items, and drove off. Suspect Henry Giles was shot dead during the attempted arrest on the following day, June 15, 1967. In the car, a green Chevrolet sedan, there were the day's sales from the flower shop, a .38 caliber revolver, and an old .08 parabellum pistol. All items were collected during the police intervention. Suspected accomplice Marcus Owens. Owens' testimony reveals that on June 14, 1967, Horatio Dawson visited the pawn shop with the intention of selling a variety of jewelry. Owens bought some of the items from the victim for a total of $487. Owens, working as Giles' silent partner, informed Giles that Dawson had more valuables. However, he denied being involved in the robbery. Testimony of Marcus's ex-wife, Lily Garrett, confirmed the suspect's alibi. And we have 8 further leads. Jesus. I can see what they mean now. This is complex. This was one card. On the back of this folder, it says, remember... Jesus Christ. The bottom part says, call me when you're ready. Something, remember to... Remember to oh my God. I don't know how you're expected to read this. I can show it to you. It's gibberish. Remember to possible. Call me when you're ready. I don't know. Oh, there's also the map of the house. Yeah. Okay. I can see why you'd want multiple people. Like, just combining, you know, multiple heads, just putting things together. It's a lot for one person. Okay, so that's... I mean, there's a lot of, like, tiny details here. Loads. Like, too many. So let's look at the big details. Let's just focus on that. Let's get back to our notes. We are going to want to write up Marcus Owens now. Rupert's father, criminal past, stabbed in prison before he could talk to the prosecutor, I think it was, something like that. Was questioned about a crime in 1967. Owned a pawn shop. Worked with a man named Henry Giles. Horatio Dawson came in to sell jewelry. Sold some. Giles later broke in. What was their alleged? Forced Dawson to open the safe, then killed him during a struggle. Was the watch in the safe? It's like you'd think, right? I mean, in a game sense, I would think so. But we're not meant to think of it like a game. If it was the watch, like they Marcus Owens recognized the value of the watch. Presumably Horatio also recognized the value of the watch. Either Dawson brought it in knowing its value, and Marcus didn't want to pay that much for it, so they decided to steal it instead. Or Dawson came in to sell some other jewelry and, like, mentioned it in passing. It's weird, though. We need to know more about Horatio Dawson, to be perfectly honest. And we can look it up. We can look up his file in the database, but we have to finish the lead from the card before we can move on to other leads. And so that means we have to decide if we want to dig deeper. And that means spending a research token. And that will let us compare the scans that we were given with the original. It's odd because how do we get a hold of the original? But, Susie says that someone must have misplaced them and spent several minutes printing out these scans. I think that we're pretty investigated in this, or we're pretty committed to this. So we're going to do it. We're going to spend one of our research tokens, and we're going to compare. Apart from Susie, there are several other people working in the archives whom you don't trust. You do not want to have to come back here in an hour because there was something missing from the file. You take the scan out of your briefcase and decide to compare it to the original documents. You flash your badge at the archive employee and ask him to show you the contents of the original folder so you can be sure that you have a complete scan. The guy is grumpy, but you have experience. Old papers, archives, and evidence magazines are your domain. You share some stories from the archives in Missouri, where you had your training years ago, and the atmosphere lightens. The employee waves his hand and lets you inside. He points to the right bookshelf and says you can rummage through them freely. He leaves, wishing you good luck. That's exactly what you wanted. You go to the bookshelf and rifle through the box with the 67 files. You see that sandwiched between the notes is a small crumpled piece of paper. It must have fallen out of one of the files. Yes, it looks like a stroke of luck, but why not? Sometimes these things just happen. There's information on the note, signed with the name Slater. In the investigation, the fingerprints of Henrietta Marcos and her 2 children were omitted. Henrietta was a neighbor and housekeeper. The prints of her and her children, mainly her son Andrew, were practically all over the house. Apart from that, the scans match the original. Okay, so fingerprints of Dawson's housekeeper and 2 kids were all over the house. I think what that's telling us is that we can safely ignore most of the fingerprints found, rather than, trying to investigate that. Because obviously the kids were not involved with the crime. I mean, you can't say obviously, but presumably. Because we have partial fingerprints all over the place. Well, according to this, we have 3 sets of fingerprints, aside from the victim. One set was found basically everywhere. The full set. Partial set was found on the ashtray. There's actually... I don't know if it's 2... Okay, so here's the thing. Not every one of these fingerprint things is intact, see? So... I need to get a new webcam. There you go. So those 2 in the middle there, you see they have all those X's. I can't input those as they are. Because I don't really know how it works with the partial ones. Let me look up the rulebook, I guess. Partial. Incomplete signature. Inputting encountered signatures into the database is mandatory. Oh. Well then, okay. Alright, I guess I have to input all these. This is cool. This is cool stuff. Oh, Henry Giles, yeah. Okay. So then this is partial. Fingerprint on a brass ashtray. Yeah, that's ashtray. Oh, okay. So that's working. It's working on that. Okay. We have more. This is the dirt from the ceramic pot where we had the footprint. Yeah, it's not very interesting to just watch me. Oh, I'm not even showing you the site. That would be useful. Right, there's our material one. So the fingerprints that were all over the place. That's this one. It says known 3 out of 7, total 3 out of 12. I don't know what that means. There's the seeds from the ceramic pot. And finally, we have the victim's fingerprints. Horatio Dawson. Okay. So... So the fingerprint traces found everywhere match Henry Giles, according to this. So, hold on. Before we get into Henry Giles, let me add the rest of the further leads. So we can look into investigating officer Michael Slater. Marcus Owens we've already looked at. That's all fine. Evidence related to the case. Number 106. Richmond PD. Horatio Dawson autopsy report is number 117, also at Richmond PD. So if you do multiple things at the same location, you don't have to add travel time, which is pretty good. Consulting a forensic psychologist. Oh boy. I got a new keyboard like yesterday, so it's a little learning experience. That's at the courthouse. And Horatio Dawson's grave we could even go visit. I don't know why we ever would, but that's part of field work. Alright, the last thing then before we end the video, let's read Henry Giles' database entry. Born in 37 in Richmond, died in 67 at age 30 during a shootout with the police. Yeah, that was during his arrest, right after the incident. Right after the theft and murder. 5'6". He's got a burn scar on his cheek. Arrested on April 6, 1960 for petty theft, fine and release. 63 for assault, sentenced to 3 months in prison. 66 for larceny, 6 months in prison. And then shot to death. Yep. Shoe size of 11, body cremated. I mean, it all makes sense. Obviously, he's not, like, involved in anything. I'm pretty sure the police know, you know, they're sure that he's dead. So, not much we can do about that. Okay. Yeah, a lot to take in. As I've said, we've looked at 1 out of 35 cards. And we have, like 7 more leads. Yeah, we got 7 more leads to look into. So yeah, next video we're gonna get in deep. It's gonna be something, but it's very interesting. I can definitely see enjoying with like 1 or 2 other people, just sitting around on a cozy rainy day. You got some noir music playing in the background, sipping some coffee, and just going in deep on a 6-hour case. I mean, that sounds like a perfect day to me. Yeah, good stuff. All right. So with that, my name is Mangg. Game watching has been Detective. Yeah, that's what it's called. It's called Detective. It's not very imaginative. Detective, and I will see you fine folks in the next part.